Diane, I'm listening to a podcast, Black Lodge Trivia Night. I've never heard so many game aspirations in my life.
Oh, did you mean the intro blurbs like we're Black Lodge Trivia Night? Or
Yeah.
You mean the like spotlights warm?
No, I meant the
cool.
intro.
Oh,
I'll do that.
sure.
All right. I'm going to include all this as well. All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going? This is Black Lodge Trivia Night. Thank you again for joining us. We had so much fun doing some solo RPGs that we decided we wanted to try one more. And fair warning, Matt and I both have described the situation as coming in hot, but I feel like coming in hot, implies that there's some degree of control still. It's like a bit of a controlled skid, but you might still regain it. This is like we've hit the runway, the front wheels have just completely collapsed, and we're just throwing sparks as we skid towards like a field of trees. So
Nailed it.
yeah, hopefully this isn't too bad. So apologies in advance. But Matt, how have you been doing?
Great art. Very excited for this.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, we haven't mentioned it, but you found this, and I'm curious to know where you found it, but we're playing Midnight Melodies.
Midnight Melodies. It's a relatively new thing that I saw on Itch. I saw it on Twitter through, honestly, it might have been through, and I feel terrible, the designer of Cyberpunk, the game we played a little while ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We follow him on social media, and I think he might have reposted a link or forwarded a post or whatever, and I saw it on there. And I know that you've run a Call of Cthulhu Jazz Kansas City game.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, I wonder what Matt would think of this, and threw it over.
Yeah, so we were gung-ho on what we were going to do. It bounced around. We've talked about Star Trek. I think we're both getting close to being able to do something with Star Trek soon. And we'd settled on something else. We were actually just gonna, bullshit for a while and do a damn fine coffee episode. And then I read through Midnight Melodies after you posted it. I went and bought it, and instantly, I thought, this is the shit.
Yes.
You are a jazz artist. I think it leans into being a piano player, but you certainly don't have to be. That is basically spared by the Grim Reaper to investigate these strange deaths and murders and things ongoing with like other creepy things are behind it. So there's otherworldly things killing these people, and the Grim Reaper wants us to find out what's going on.
So I'm just going to say this. Sometimes you encounter a premise that's so good it almost doesn't seem fair. And I feel like that's this.
Yeah, so like you'll see as we play along, like and you can probably see it on our screen share here, is I'm going to be picking up these notes, and the story is going to evolve as I develop. So we're kind of doing like this. It's a solo game. Art's going to GM. I'm going to play, but I'm going to build these chords. And so like you build these jazz chords as you develop clues. And again, meant to be a soloing experience, but we had such a good time hacking English Eerie that we're going to try to make this work for us as well.
Yeah. And I'm not great at like no prep wing it stuff. So again, I just want to apologize in advance, but I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. So
yeah, very good. I'll just mention real quick, because I know we usually put links down in the show notes, but Capacle is who made this. Capacle.itch.io. You'll find it there for a few bucks. And then you can get a coupon to go print it. It's a great read.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the thing. Really
Cezar
read.
Capacle.
Yeah. Cezar. Yeah. It's a good read all on its own, which is not always true of every RPG book you get. So I appreciated that as well.
Yeah. And what's interesting, we'll say, I know we haven't even played yet. I'm really excited about this, which is why we haven't wasted time with other nonsense and bullshit. It doesn't have much of a structure, but it makes sense because it's jazz. Like even your scenes can be this. You can adapt this structure. You can go in free form and kind of like make it like you're riffing I don't know, a jazz joint.
Thing.
I don't know. Yeah, a jazz thing. Hey, I took history of jazz online when I was getting my undergrad. Can't tell you a thing about it.
I think I took like some kind of jazz theory. It's one of the hardest classes I took in college. Which surprised me. But then people say like, yeah, no, music theory is no joke. You walk in there thinking, oh, music theory, but it
Yeah,
nearly killed
music
me.
this was history of jazz,
Oh,
which is
oh,
quite a bit different than music. No. Like, I'm not, like, downplaying your
oh. Mhm.
music theory, like, that would be way hard. This was, essentially a history class
Oh, nice.
on jazz, which with the Kansas City roots and,
Yeah.
yeah, we know a thing or two about jazz here.
All right.
Kansas City Jazz Museum is fantastic. That's the last
Yes.
nonsense I'll mention.
All right. And this, I'm going to be leaning on you a little bit because I'm intending to set this in Kansas City in the
Cool.
30s. So I tried to get a few things what's going on, but I'll definitely yield the floor to stuff that you know about your area. But before we do that, do you have any candles going? Any business going on?
You know what? I don't have a candle going tonight.
Okay, cool. We'll skip right past that. Second thing, Twin Peaks trivia. Are you ready for
Yeah.
tonight's question?
I am.
All right. So I sort of have a question in kind of 3 parts just to make it a little more fun. The question is, Agent Dale Cooper in the original series Twin Peaks has a surefire cure for something. Do you remember what that surefire cure is for?
Hangover?
It is for a hangover.
Yeah.
That is correct. Now, second question. Who does he tell the surefire cure to? Do you remember?
Is it Harry?
Sheriff Truman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then third part of the question. What is the cure? This is a little bit of a trick question.
Like fried bacon or I'm vaguely remembering the hanging upside down, but also I kind of vaguely remember Harry or Sheriff Truman throwing up. I think the bacon thing is just when he's in the Great Northern. I think that's a red herring.
Okay.
That's a fish in the percolator. I don't know. Is it involve hanging upside down or something?
No. So they're standing together, I think, in the police station, and he's like,
Uh-huh.
Harry, I've got a surefire cure for the hangover. And he starts like, you take unfiltered tomato juice, you throw a
Oh
couple
yeah,
of
and then he throws up.
right. So the actual cure is saying something that's so disgusting
Yeah,
that the
that's
guy boots, and
That's what it is.
it takes care of it. Yeah, it's not the
Nice.
actual recipe. So there we go.
Good pull.
All right.
Yeah, I just want to say
Yeah.
that it's November. And
Mm,
I don't know if you can tell, but
nice.
it's coming. Look at that, baby! It's in full bloom.
Hot damn.
So what I do in person is every November. Every November I did this last year. I grow this out, and then when someone either gives me a hard time or asks about it in person, I donate $1 and like keep track. And I always donate to colorectal cancer research. There's some great organizations, and I've done other things. But anyways, so if you see me in person, you ask me about my mustache, you only get 1 pull on it. But for the men's health awareness, this little
Nice.
baby is watch out.
Nice. Now you're going with like Roaring 20s upperclassmen. You're going to go with full like
Oh, just back
Western.
to how it was.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
All here, and then I got this thing where I don't grow hair right in the middle. So
Okay.
it's lovely. I have a gap in my
Nice.
hair.
I think nudity consultants and movies have something you could put right there.
Oh yeah, to fill it in.
Yeah, it's not meant for that, but just have this giant. There's a funny word for it but I don't know what it is at the moment. All right,
That's the only business I have.
cool. I get
Get
lasered.
your butts checked.
Yes, that is true. I mean, do we just do what Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney did, where they
Oh man, that was yeah.
get 4 views? Was it worth it? But all right. So I guess with that, you want to get started on this very serious RPG. Okay, so again, yes, we're playing Midnight Melodies. Hopefully you're hearing the sweet sounds of a jazz soundtrack in the background.
Kenny G.
Yeah, it's all Kenny G. We're going to get sued and embarrassed. So it's the 1930s, early 1930s. Prohibition is still in effect, and we are in Kansas City.
Where prohibition was never put into effect.
No, thanks to... I actually did a little...
thanks
to Tom Pendergrast.
Tom's down, baby.
That's right. So
Boss Tom.
Yeah, I got to know a little bit about what I'm talking about. Not a lot, just a little.
Damn, son.
So yeah, because of Tom Pendergrast and his his mafia connections and his bribe police force. Yeah, Prohibition was never really enacted in Kansas City. And Kansas City became its own source of jazz music. It's one of those places where if people heard it on either coast down in New Orleans, they could say that's Kansas City jazz. It had its own distinct sound. It liked to go a little slower, a little smoother. And that's where we find ourselves. And Matt, let's find out a little bit about you in this Midnight Melody.
Awesome. Do you want me to do the full intro, or do you want to go into creating the character? 100% up to you.
Let's do the character, and then we can roll into the intro if you want.
So let's do like this game is intended: low prep, low everything. Let's roll some dice for some names.
Nice.
You're cool with that?
Cool. Now, again, if you have the book or if you see the generator in Foundry.
Sorry, I user error on my part.
Okay.
10. So that's going to be Charlie.
Cool.
First name. And I'll get your last name here. Oh, it was almost Charlie Parker.
Oh, wow.
Which would have been something. Charlie Parker was famous Kansas City jazz musician, but Charlie Davis is our name.
Okay.
And I'll get you a code name here.
Nice.
Now, when I first looked at this, I really liked the Mist, but tonight we will be the Eclipse, baby.
I was gonna say, I thought the Mist was down low on the table.
I got close to it.
Yeah.
And I will let you know that I will be doing my cool, smoky jazz voice all night. It's something of a cross between Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage, but like smoother. So
nice. And I'll be doing my Pee Wee Herman. It's gonna sound terrible. All right.
Hello. Let's call back to.
Perfect.
Real fans will get that reference.
Yeah. Hey, Mom.
All right, so I need to pick some traits, right? So this
Yes.
is very PBTA in kind of overall how you resolve things. So I'm going to pick 2 actions that I'm very good at and 1 action that I'm not so good at. And all my rolls always progress the story forward. And it's either yes and, yes but, and is it no and no but?
Right. No but is 2, 3. No and is 0 and 1. So if you get such a bad roll, it's no and something else might also be part of the problem. Oh, no, maybe it's no and in a good way. I don't know. It doesn't have to be no and in a bad way.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Charlie Davis is the Eclipse. I definitely think move is, I picture like celestial bodies moving in front of each other for Eclipse. So I'm gonna say I'm dominant at move.
Okay.
And no, I don't want to do move.
Okay.
I want to do discern. And I'll go good at talking. And not so good at handling.
Okay.
Which that'd be like your sleight of hand, finesse stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Right. And for the people watching, basically what that means is when you roll talk or discern, you get a +1 to your D6. And when you roll handle, you get a -1. And then the others are just straight D6s, move and force. So the other thing we should talk about here is you have these talents: talk, move, force, handle, discern. And you can see they're sort of based on the actions of talk, move, force, handle, discern, but there's basically like supernatural versions of those actions.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to invoke those talents, you have to spend a blue note.
Mm-hmm.
And you get 6 blue notes to start. And anytime you need to use a talent, you have to spend one. But in game, there is a way to recover them, which is basically you spend a beat describing a scene of how you take in the atmosphere, how you take in the scenery.
Love it.
And I don't think there's any gameplay implications. It's not like it comes back to haunt you later when you run out of a timer. It's just you take a moment to role play how you get nostalgic or you feel an emotion or have a good cup of coffee. and you get a D6 of blue notes back.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly,
yeah, I mean it's a solo game, so the only one you'd be cheating if you abuse that would be yourself, right? So I think that's kind of
right. So yeah, so I think in theory we are basically done creating your character.
Yeah, that's cool. Cool.
Yeah, so I guess let's get started with the introduction.
Sweet. Was that a transition to me to read the introduction?
I was about to say I'm happy to read it, but then I realized it was in the first person.
Whatever. Doesn't matter to me.
So why don't we get started with you, reading the introduction.
All right. The spotlight's warm, the keys are cool. Every night I lose myself in the cascade of notes, the thrum of bass, the thrum of bass, a bass, the soulful cries of the sax. But one night, applause died down, patrons shuffled out, and I found myself facing a sight no encore could match. The Grim Reaper. Silhouette drenched in moonlight, leaning against my beloved grand piano. Your time's up, they whispered. Scythe, gleaming eyes inscrutable. I took a breath, ready for that final note. But nothing. It's a puzzled look from old Grim and a sheepish shrug. Seems there's been a hiccup. And let me tell you, when death itself looks flustered, you know you're in for a tale. Apparently, I was some kind of cosmic anomaly, immune. I couldn't die. Grim couldn't take me, but they sure had a job for me. Department of Unauthorized Deaths. Offering a bony hand. Got a position open. Interested. How do you say no to death? So every night after my last set, amidst the coins and crumpled bills, there's a scrap of paper in my tip jar. A name. A life taken too soon without death say so. My job? Chase the eerie frequencies, the otherworldly echoes, and solve the mystery before dawn. It ain't your usual gig. Walking the dimly lit streets, feeling the hum of the otherworld. I use my new talents to connect the dots, and as the city sleeps and spirits stir, I play a tune only the dead can hear. Funny, isn't it? The jazz pianist turned spectral sleuth, dancing with shadows, serenading souls. But hey, when life, or death, hands you a peculiar melody, you make it swing. So here I am, keys in one hand, clues in the other, making music with the mysteries of the night.
All right. So it's your nightly gig, and last call has been rung. Are you a pianist? Are you a jazz pianist?
Yeah. We'll say Charlie's a pianist.
Describe to me the club you're in. Smoky, obviously, but what else?
Yeah, very smoky. It's below a store upstairs. You know, just a general goods store. You get down below by buying a particular brand of shave soap. And that's the cover for the night. And then you head downstairs, and there's a fairly good sized still, and the room really kind of spreads out quickly, where there's a deep blue curtain draped down with a small stage, enough for a small jazz setup. And so Charlie Davis isn't playing on the big stage with someone like Charlie Parker or anything like that. But here the patrons are loyal. They know they can get a drink here, where the cost isn't too high, and they don't get bothered by any of the political goons.
Would you say this is more of an everyman kind of speakeasy instead of the highfalutin fancy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
All right. So we'll say maybe it's around 2 a.m. Is it so hot outside that you just can't shake the sweat, or is it so cold outside that it hits you right in your bones and doesn't let go?
Oh yeah, definitely the latter.
Okay.
It's fall, and the first real chill of fall is settling in. So every time the door to the upstairs opens up, a chill creeps down the basement stairs.
Nice. All right. And so the last regular is sort of settling up. And he gives you a wave and, says, "It was beautiful work again, Charlie." And he sort of half stumbles up the stairs. The bartender looks at him thinking, is he going to make it? And yeah, all right, he made it. And he goes back to, dealing with the till, wiping down the final glasses, wiping off the bar, and sort of getting things prepped for tomorrow's opening. And he goes over and are you part of an ensemble or are you a soloist?
I play with everyone, baby, but tonight, closing out, there's maybe a full set earlier, but for the last hour or so, I've just been riffing on the keys alone. Right. And so now I'm playing something a little slower, a little moodier, while Kansas City jazz is like upbeat, but now I'm just letting the keys kind of match the mood outside.
All right.
While the last guest heads upstairs.
Nice. All right.
And I look when he makes it up and the bartender turns around or heads back to the back room or something, I look over in the tip jar.
Nice. And yeah, you see there's a tip jar and there's like some change, maybe a couple of singles from the bigger spenders.
Oh.
And
night, don't mind if I do.
Yeah. But you do see an odd piece of paper in there. And I'm assuming this is not your first time.
No, let's say not.
Okay. So you recognize the paper. You know exactly what that paper means. And why don't you tell me what you do?
Well, first off, I pick up the cash.
Okay.
And I sweep the room again. After that first night, Death, the Grim Reaper, I always keep an eye on it, but man, sometimes the music just carries me and I close my eyes and then sure enough, I'll open them up and there it is. Crisply folded, the same kind of worn yellowish paper. I reach in, I pull it out and I unfold it and I see Warren Stone.
Yeah, poor bastard.
Yeah, exactly. Poor bastard.
Yeah. Now, what this name is it's the name of somebody who died when they weren't supposed to die. The Grim Reaper did not have the pleasure of bringing these people into the afterlife. And so your job is to sort of uncover what happened and why, so that all can be made right with this person's passage with the Grim Reaper.
I unfold I guess we didn't talk about this. We'll break character for just a second.
Mm-hmm.
What are you kind of going? Did you pick it? So there's 3 styles of play.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kind of following the story beats where we have?
I'm going to do a little bit of that unless you want to just do some.
No, I like that because then it like, I don't want to ever assume, but like now, like what I imagine is I unfold the note. I say, Warren Stone, you poor son of a bitch. And then I hear it. That first odd misplaced tone. Nothing from my piano. G sharp. What song are you playing tonight?
Yeah. And
so I don't want to ever assume that I'm getting a tone or anything, but I think as soon as that name settles in, then I hear it.
Nice. All right. And so mechanically what we do now is we can mark that on the character sheet. So I'll just show that really quickly. Hopefully it pops up. And so you can see the first chord. The first tone is a G sharp, A flat, and you're trying to fill in all 9. And that's when you've sort of completed the story. So we'll keep going. So
So I will send the goal is to give the 3 final chords to the Reaper. the Grim Reaper know what the details of the untimely end of poor Warren Stone.
Yes. So now, Matt, don't look at this. I'm going to do something that's not quite normal. So in game, what you're supposed to do if you're playing solo is you roll the name, and then you let the other things come as you discover them. Since I'm GMing, I'm going to roll ahead a little bit.
Okay.
Just so I can start thinking about what's going on.
Sure.
So let me...
Do it. I won't pay attention.
Roll these 2 details about him, just so I can see how to steer things. And... Okay. I'm going to now delete these, and you are welcome to look at whatever screen you want.
All right, sweet.
All right.
Oh, really? Okay. No, I'm just
Okay, so you see the name Warren Stone, and again, you just think the poor bastard, but you don't know anything about him, except that you've heard this tone. You could have swore, knowing as much as you do about music, that you were looking at like an A flat, and for some reason that tone just goes with the name Warren Stone, and you're not entirely sure why. And so, what would you? Like to do?
I'm gonna say I do know why. Like
okay.
At first, it's unsettling, but now I know. Like the reason that I'm imagining. I don't know anything about music. Are G sharp and A flat like the same note? Is that
They
why
are.
it's okay? Yeah. Good to know. So, like now I'm like, okay, you sly bastard. I know your note now. Like the first few times, it's like why do I keep hearing A sharp? Why do I keep hearing this? But this time, it's like okay. This is what you're leading off with. I've come to like identify, like I know the path this is going to take. This isn't my first investigation. Probably been doing this for I can't die. So I'm gonna say I've been doing this for a year maybe or something like that if that doesn't mess things up. So it's what am I dealing with tonight?
All right. And so what do you make for your first step to try and figure out who this person is? How would you like to start figuring that out? Is there a contact, or do you want to use some kind of spectral power or something like that?
Yeah, I think from the get-go, Warren Stone means nothing. Well, you tell me, does Warren Stone mean anything to me? Generally, they don't.
No, this Warren Stone is not a name you're familiar with around Kansas City.
Okay, I'm gonna say goodbye to we'll call him Bass. I'm gonna say bye to Bass, the bartender, and I head upstairs and head out the door. And again, the chill of the autumn evening in Kansas City. And I step out, and we're in the 18th and Vine district at a not as popular bar. Maybe there's like a big crowd pouring out of some of the bigger jazz bars, or jazz. They wouldn't call them bars, but anyways, I head back into an alley.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try to do an Echoes of Time. And what I would like to do is use a blue note, and I want to glimpse at the events of Warren Stone's death.
Okay. Go ahead and spend that blue note, and then I think you do a normal roll on that skill, and let's see what you get.
A normal roll, or do I get a dominant roll?
It's a dominant. I think because you have the talent. It is a dominant. So give yourself a +1.
Sweet.
A 3. So no, but okay. So you sort of get this image that comes into your head, and you see Warren sitting at a desk. And he's alive, though. You're not seeing his death.
Okay.
But you are seeing him sit at a desk, and on the desk in front of him is a loaded revolver. Now, you're just getting a glimpse of him sort of staring intently at this revolver. But you're not getting any other details. Like, it's sort of like you have blinders on. You're seeing him, you're seeing his focus on the revolver, but you're not seeing the room. You're not really seeing anything where he is. You're just him and this desk. Now, the desk itself, it's not fancy. It's quite simple. It's pretty maybe scratched. And what might you see like in the desk's disfigurement that might give you an idea of what's there, where he is? Or do you want me to come up with something and
No, I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to think of what I'd be able to identify from a desk.
Yeah, imagine it's like a scratched up, carved into, beat up old desk.
Yeah, I've got it. It's not the desk itself. It's some of the stuff on the desk or maybe in the drawer.
Okay.
And to me, that seems to, it looks like do I see what Warren Stone looks like? I've got an idea, but do I see him at all, or it's kind of like first person, I see the gun and I see the desk?
Let's say it's mostly first person. You see the gun, but you see his hands, and his hands look like they are covered in some kind of like grease. Not nice. Like coated, but like some.
It's not grease.
Cuticle.
It's coal, and he works. It appears to be like maybe a security desk or some kind of desk, or maybe it's just like a repairman or something. But definitely something with the railroad. So something maybe at Union Station, something like that.
Got it.
Or it could be. I mean, it could be a worse part of the city, but.
Okay. But yeah, okay. So that's sort of something you're leaning towards, this idea that, that looks like coal, and yeah, maybe he's.
Yeah, it looks like he's got coal on his hands, and maybe there's like train, like timetables or something like that on the desk.
All right. Cool. Okay. So that's sort of the flash you get, and I think if we're doing. Again, the game is very cool in that it gives you a couple ways to structure the story. We're doing the story beats just because it's our first time.
Yeah.
And so the first one is you sort of identify the victim. The second one is sort of the death scene. Now, because of the roll, you didn't quite get the death scene itself, but you got something that you feel like is in proximity to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so why don't you give yourself your second tone?
So I'm there thinking, and when I use these powers, it's always with music. So, Warren, what were you up to? And like I'm running my fingers across the brick stones like a keyboard, and at first it's like soft and a little bit of random, and that's why everything's blurry. I don't know what to hone in on yet. But then I catch his hands, and I start hitting the imaginary keys a little bit with a little more like tempo, and then Warren, and then I slam on the keyboard, and then that's when I see some of the rail timetables and stuff, and then I pick my fingers up, and it's like, let's see where you're, and I bring my fingers down what I think is randomly, and then it picks up F sharp, G sharp, F sharp. What are you up to?
All right. Very nice. All right. So there you go. So you know that he appears to have something to do with the railroads, and that he was staring down this gun in some kind of rundown room. So what would you like to do next to follow on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll head west and head. I'm not going straight into Union Station. I'm going to go down, kind of down below, into like a side yard area where I think, and maybe just look for any indication that I'm on the right path. Maybe there's a police presence there already, or there was one. Shit, maybe I even hear the gun ring out. I don't know.
All right, so let's say that you are you head to Union Station, and it's late. Obviously, it's very late or early, however you want to describe it, and you see that it's basically empty, and there's not anything interesting going on. There's like your typical night staff, working the ticket counter in case somebody wants to buy a ticket for tomorrow's, first train out of the station. But otherwise, it's very quiet. There might be a patrolling, uniform. Sure. But just sort of swinging the stick, not really engaged with too much, just sort of passing the time. And so you get to the station. You don't see anyone that resembles what you...
Should I talk? Can I talk to the night watchman?
Absolutely, yeah. Talking the police officer or just the people working like the desk?
I'll go straight to the police officer.
Okay. So you approach the police officer, and like any kind of police officer, when somebody walks up to him, he's trying to sort of size you up to...
Oh, it's like 2:45 in the morning now.
Yeah, yeah. Like what's this going to turn into? Because this is... But he sort of sees you don't look too drunk, and you don't seem to be aggressive. So he, just sort of lets you approach and sort of stares you down as you do. And he doesn't really say anything though as you get to within like closing distance.
My man. What's going on tonight? I don't know. I need jazz lingo and I don't have it. What's flapjacking?
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah. I mean, he'll just quiet evening tonight, officer.
And he sort of looks you up and down and says, can't complain. Quiet as a mouse. You got business here in the station? It's pretty late.
Just following wherever the notes take me. And like it's... To me, that feels like a douchebag thing to say, but in this, like... Charlie just emits like cool, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping like the effect is this police officer is like, yeah, all right, man. And so no excitement tonight? You staying awake?
Why don't you give me a talk roll just to see how this goes? You rolled a 5. Nicely done. So that's a yes, but, right? I believe.
Yeah.
I think a 6 is a straight up hardcore success. So he looks you over and he's like, yeah, all quiet, but I feel like if you got somewhere to be, maybe you should get on your way there. It's getting late and it's getting cold. You don't want to be out there too much longer with this chill getting in the wind.
Okay, my man. I thought this was the place to be, but maybe it's not.
And he looks at you over and he says, "Look, if you got a question, the guy over there can tell you about the trains." And he just sort of points his bobby stick over at the night manager, and he just sort of says, "Have a good evening." And he sort of spins his club and walks away.
Officer, and I'll head over to the ticket booth and I'll just wrap my fingers. Yeah. And just kind of like weirdly smile at them.
Yeah.
And, just,
and
hey,
you see the guy, he's kind of like leaning on and he's sort of half asleep. And so when you rap on the window, he sort of startles and, takes a second to, collect himself, rub his eyes out.
Is that no good son of a bitch Warren down there?
And he looks at you and says, I think Warren's on the day shift, but it's funny, his punch card, he never clocked in today.
Uh-oh. I tell you what, I'm his brother. No, that makes no sense, because then I would know where he lives. Let me think about that.
Okay.
Didn't clock in today, huh?
No, sir, at least not according to his ticket, but, if you want, I could take a message or something
I really need to. I need to speak to him. Is there any way I can get in contact with him? Any way you can help me out with that?
And all right, let's
Look, I promise you,
give me another talk roll.
Okay.
Nice. He looks you up and down, and just something about your face he trusts. And
Look, brother, this is really important. It's 2:45 in the morning. I'm tired. You're tired. I don't want to be in the train station right now. I want to be in bed. I want to be next to a warm body, but instead I'm out tonight. I just need to find Warren. I promise you.
yeah, and he says, you know what? Yeah, let me help you out, brother. And he sort of goes into, like, he sort of thumbs through a filing cabinet or something, below the desk. And he says, you know what? This is the address I have for him. And he jots down an address. And, it's like, I know I have a map of Kansas City up, but I don't know the city. But, it's like, it's on the corner of, in an area of town that's not too great. And it looks like, it's the name he jots down. You recognize it as the name of, like, a halfway house. Sort of in, maybe is the club you play at, we described it as sort of in the basement, catering to more normal people. Is it in like a decent section, or would it be somewhere not too savory?
More like on the outskirts of so there's definitely like a nightclub district, and
Okay.
we're like on the edge of that, and then it kind of blends into, maybe it runs north and runs into a little bit less ideal neighborhoods.
Okay. So let's say maybe the halfway house, the address is sort of more smack in the middle of a less ideal neighborhood.
Sure.
Wherever that might be. And, as you sort of, if you're ready to move on, at the end of your conversation, he sort of like leans back on his hand and starts to nod off again.
Yeah, so I pick up the piece of paper, and then right before he nods off, and I say, "Hey, Sharpie, okay, you son of a bitch," and he's probably like, "Huh?" And like I'm at that point, I'm humming the chord, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, just got a song stuck in my head.
Very nice. All right. Okay, so yeah, you get the address, and we're gonna head now to the start of the second chord. And are you going to the halfway house?
Yeah, he'll head straight there. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you get there, and again, you sort of knock on the door. You get let in, and there's like a guy working the desk overnight, and he's just sitting there, sort of smoking a cigarette. And he's got a little flask on the table, and he takes a sip from it. And as you walk in, he just sort of looks at you and says, "Oh, chilly out there, huh?"
Colder than and he just, "Hey, is Warren in?" Like before he even finishes his thought. I know it's late, but
Warren. I can't say I've seen him tonight. I mean, maybe I know he works during the day, and I work the night shift, but usually I see him coming in and out at least. I haven't seen him.
You mind if I go give a little rap-a-tap-tap on his door?
Yeah, free country.
I tell you what, thank you for everything you do.
And yeah, so he says, it's on the third floor, room 302.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder.
All right. And yeah, so you get upstairs, and what do you do?
I'm going to... I'm wondering if I should try to peek in there first. Yeah, I will. I'm gonna try to, or I will, do an ethereal passage.
Okay. Yeah.
which also I guess I could have done, and maybe I should have done before this guy. I don't want to draw any suspicion to myself, like leaving fingerprints or anything. So I'll get up to the third floor, and I'll listen in to the room and assume I don't hear anything,
Right.
and then I'll try to pass through the walls slowly at first.
Okay.
I mean, foolishly, I'm optimistic. Like maybe I've got it in time this time. Maybe I'm saving someone, but
Okay. Yeah, I mean, does that thought enter your head sometimes? Do you
it
like
does.
maybe this one's different? Okay.
Not often, because maybe in the past when I've done, more often than not, when I look into the past, I see the death. And so this time there's a little urgency in Charlie's steps, because I saw the gun.
Right.
I didn't see Warren, and so he's thinking and acting with urgency that he's gonna save someone tonight. Deep down, he knows that that's probably not the case, but
Okay. So you're gonna do an ethereal pass to get through the door. It is locked. You check it. It's locked.
yeah, I don't even know if I would have opened it, even
Okay.
if it wasn't locked. But yeah,
Okay. So yeah. So go ahead. I guess this would be a move roll if you want to spend the blue note and then. Nice. Okay, so you get a 5. So technically that's a no but. So we're going to get you into the room. I'm going to leave this up, I guess, just so we can see the progression. We're going to get you into the room.
wait, a 5's a no?
Well, a 5 is, let me just double check. Let's see, action rolls. 4, 5 is, 4, 5 is a yes,
yeah.
but. Sorry, that's what I meant. Okay, so you pass through the door. But what?
So do I see the body?
You do. So in front of
Okay.
you.
So there's some kind of twist.
Yeah. So in front of you, sitting in a chair at a desk, you see sort of like a bigger guy, and he's sitting there, and the window's open, and the chill's blowing in, and despite that, you see he sort of was just wearing like a t-shirt with like like he took his shirt off, but he still got the suspenders in his pants, and he's sort of he looks like this. He's sort of like head back over. Whoops! I'm knocking out one of my lights.
Ooh, creepy.
Warren, you son of a bitch! You get out of here. So he and it looks like he's been shot in the head. So his other arm is draped next to him, and on the ground next to where his hand is like hanging, you see a gun sort of mostly wrapped in a towel.
Okay.
And, you know, on the edge of the towel, there's clearly powder burns. The gun has clearly been fired, and it looks like Warren shot himself in the head and took his own life. So
Okay.
now I'm trying to figure out. So the butt of when you get through the door, you're able to see all of this, but
I've got a butt if you don't.
Oh
have
yeah,
one.
go ahead. I'd rather have you.
Only if I start to go through the door, and my face goes through, and like the beginning of my gut goes through and stuff, and I try to like reach my hand through, but all of a sudden I hit like brick walls, and I pull back through the wall,
Okay.
the door, and then I try through the wall, and then I keep trying, and I keep hitting like a solid object, even though I'm partially through.
Right. Okay.
And finally I go back to the hall, and I look around, and I'm able to just get my hand in to twist the key on the inside to unlock his door, and I go back and I quit and he's just like, damn, if do it the old fashioned way. And I open the door, and I see traced all the way around the room lines of salt, and then I see like protection wards, like under his pillow, and like little I don't know, just like superstitious tchotchkes and stuff, things I've like come to encounter, but like never like most of my victims don't believe in this stuff, aren't trying to protect them, but this guy was to a certain extent trying to protect himself from something supernatural or all things supernatural, but all his stuff is real. I mean, like the line assault's effective against my ethereal passage, and like these are valid wards.
Nice. All right. And so do you ever find a hole in the armor, or are you blocked?
Oh yeah, physically I can go through. Like I said,
okay.
I just barely am able to get my hand in, and I flick the key, and that unlocks, and that's what I'm saying. So like then he's like, I'll do it the old-fashioned way. So then he opens the door and he just walks in, and that the door, you know, like sweeps away the salt, and then I think maybe that leads to obviously he was involved with something supernatural.
All right. Nice. Okay, so yeah, you get in there, and let me see. Do you want more, or would that qualify for the fourth tone?
That's up to you. I mean, maybe that's enough for the first tone, but it's up to you.
Yeah, let's have that be the fourth tone.
Okay. So I'm going through the room, and like I'm humming the first chord on repeat.
Okay.
And then oops. Where'd my tables go? Sorry, I lost my tables.
No problem. Let's see. The
table of tones, got it.
There you go. Nice.
G sharp again. You're not repeating yourself, are you?
All right.
Jazz.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
All right. So, yeah, so you sort of, you know, explore around the room. Yeah, you see clearly there's this, everything you're just describing with the salt and the wards. But you see, like I said, in one hand is the dropped gun. In the other hand, you sort of realize he's sort of half hanging on to something. He's not literally holding it, obviously, because he's passed away, but there's something you see sort of in his hand that maybe got caught on his finger.
Okay, yeah. What are you holding on to? What secrets do you have?
All right. And you sort of get his hand open, a little rigor is sort of set in, and you realize he's holding on to a chain with a locket on it.
You're not gonna break my heart now, are you, Warren? And I as saying that, I reach down and I pull up the locket and I open it up.
Yeah, and inside you see a picture of a fairly pretty young woman.
Damn, Warren. I didn't think you'd do me dirty like that. And who is this little lady? And I'll pluck at the picture and see if there's like a name on the back or anything.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna do a private GM roll. I'm going to do let's see. So let's say, what's it, like 1931 or so?
Sure.
Let's say on the back you see Sarah Hawkins, and 1930, like a little date on it.
Okay. Sarah Hawkins.
Yeah.
All right. What's your story, Sarah? What's your story, Warren?
And then let me see. Give me a discern roll.
Okay.
Is that the right stat? I'm trying to recall. That's sort of to try and piece something together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, give me a discern roll.
Yeah, like if I'm looking around the room or something like that.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
you
baby.
Blow that out of the water. You recognize her.
Oh, shit.
She's a singer. She sings, in the club circuit.
Sarah. Okay.
And, yeah.
Ooh. Okay. I know Sarah. Sarah. Sarah and I used to sing together.
All right.
And this is weird because this is one of the first times that something like this has crossed over with my real life. But the deal with Sarah is Charlie, closes his eyes and he remembers a night and a night before the Grim Reaper approached him. He's playing the piano, something moody again, not upbeat. Sarah is singing a heartbreaker of a solo. And there's this man sitting up front. And a man I'd never seen before. And earlier in the night, I asked, Sarah, who's that man up there? He's got eyes for you. And she tells me he's from New Orleans. And he's come up to hear her sing. And he made he's there to recruit her. And we had a little falling out after that. And so the vision is my last encounter with Sarah is her singing and making eyes at this man and just singing the best I'd ever heard her sing. And then after that, she gets in a car with him that night and I haven't seen her since.
Okay. Nice. All right.
And then and then you recall that Sarah died.
And then she moved back and she's right behind you. And you actually talk all the time because railroad. Okay, so sorry, I had a story with these random tables, and you're not playing it right. Okay, so she got into the car, and you haven't seen her since. All right,
but so what I'm kind of remembering is knowing kind of the structure, if you're cool with this, of what the story is. At first, the guy gave me the heebie-jeebies, and there was a moment that when we were playing, that I looked over at him, and through the blue haze and the smoke, he's wearing a top hat, right?
Yeah,
and it's got this kind of elaborate feather coming out of it, and I look over and his face appears to be like a skull's face, but I'm it's the smoke, I've been drinking, but I'm reminded of this very unnerving feeling. And the briefest moment where
all right, and so you see the locket in his hand. Do you look anywhere else in the room?
Yeah, I'll keep poking around for sure.
Okay. So you find in one of the desk drawers, you find actually a train ticket, leaving out of Union Station in a few days.
Sorry, hold on 1 second. Our dogs barked and
yeah, no problem. We'll pause for a minute.
Solo parenting. Yeah, sorry about that. I'll be right back.
Okay, so we're back. And I think when you were searching the desk and you found inside of it a train ticket. Is that the last thing I was saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so you see a train ticket, it's sort of like in its little, in the little folder they give you when you buy tickets, airplane tickets, stuff like that. And you look at the ticket, assuming you look at the ticket.
Yeah, of course.
And you see that the name on the ticket, it's for a train leaving, say, the next day. But the name on the ticket is not Warren Stone. Let's say it's Anderson Edwards.
Okay.
And it's and the ticket's destination is New Orleans.
Who are you, Warren? But Warren is his real name.
Yes.
Because that's the note I got.
Right.
Anderson Edwards. What's your story? Do I hear a tone?
Let's see. We did a tone for, let's see, is this fifth tone?
We did
Let's say not quite yet.
Okay. Time does the train depart?
Let's say the train departs at like 2 p.m. the next day.
Okay. All right. So I'll poke around the room some more.
Okay. So you don't find anything else in the room. The rest of the room, it's sort of like, actually, you know what? Let me take that back. Let's say there's like a little like personal suitcase. It's like flopped open on the bed, and there's some clothes that were like half put in. Some are still folded neatly, like he might have been in the military, next to the suitcase that hadn't been placed in yet. Yeah, let's say you find that kind of stuff on the bed. Okay.
Well, I'll grab the train ticket.
Okay, cool. And as you grab the train ticket, the chill's coming in from the window, but even so, you feel across the back of your neck like someone's taking an icicle and not stabbing, but like touching it, like bing, 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 making like dots across the back of your neck with this ice cold sensation. It's almost
you. I hear you.
Yeah, it's almost like a frozen ant walking across the back of your neck. And with that, you hear another tone.
Okay. D.
Nice.
Okay. And now you're spicing it up some.
And so, yeah, and so what do you do as that feeling goes across your neck?
I step outside. Like, getting the sense that there's nothing here discovered in the room. I kind of look at the wards and seeing if I is that any indication what I'm dealing with? They're valid, but they're not specific. And so I step outside and I find a brick wall, and I start to play the key. And I'm gonna try to commune with the spirits here.
Okay. Let's see. That would be a talk roll. So that's another blue note. Okay. Is there a specific spirit you're going for, or are you just sort of like finger to the wind, kind of, what are the spirits saying kind of thing?
I think I don't know. Does he have a specific spirit he talks to?
Or do you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't.
So yeah, you know you're outside of the halfway house, and you just sort of get a sense of this restless presence. And you sort of have that sense start to solidify into realizing you're sensing the presence of Warren around the building.
Oh shit. Okay.
Very restless. And his spirit is like mumbling to himself, and it's almost sounds insane, like, you get off of me, you can't hang on to me, get off of my face, and you sort of like, that kind of thing.
So I've dealt with this. Like, I've dealt with one, like, Warren, you have about as long as this song. I need you to focus. I've got bad news, brother. You are not destined for this world any longer. I know that's a lot, but I need you to focus on me. Hear my music. What happened to you? Who did this to you?
And let's see. It's not going to work. That's not going to work either. Okay, let's not use those tables. Okay, so give me a talk roll. So you've made connections to him, but he's clearly sort of in a weird way out of his mind. Oh, very nice. And so with that, sort of your soothing, the way you take that soothing tone you were just using, it sort of settles him a little bit. And he starts he stops clawing at his face, and he sort of shakes himself out of it.
Yeah, he's in this weird between life and death. His spirit hasn't processed what's happened to him yet.
Right.
And I hate doing this, but I'm accelerating that process for him and bringing him very much to the realization that he is dead.
Yeah.
And he is transitioning. But I tell him there are things you and I have to figure out. We do not have long.
And yeah, and you can sort of get that sense, like he's got a moment of clarity, but you can sense that it's not going to last. And he says, after he gets over the shock of what you've just told him, he starts to sort of break down, crying a little bit. And he goes, "Oh God, like my sweet, sweet Sarah, my sweet Sarah. I was going to go find her. Is
she in New Orleans?
Yeah, she left, she without saying goodbye, about a year ago, she just took off. And, we were going to get married. She was my girl. I was saving up for a ring, and she just took off. And I swear it wasn't right. Like, I know she still loves me. And you know what? And let's say, just in like a couple weeks ago, I got a letter from her. The first time I've, gotten anything from her. Saw the postmark from New Orleans. And, it was just a real quick note. And it just said, like, I miss you. Please help me. Please find me.
Who was she there with? I think you and I both know she went down there for someone.
Yeah.
Don't ask Warren Stone. Feel it in your spirit. Who has her? And
he was like, I didn't get his name, but he was just up in my room a little while ago, and he walked in. He had this really sharp suit, really sharp dresser, but there's just something about him. And then all of a sudden, I just started seeing everything. The walls move, everything started to crawl, and then he starts to go, oh my God, and I thought there was something on me, and I grabbed my gun, and then he just goes quiet. And he realizes that he shot himself, and it's really sinking in what's happened, and he's starting to snap again, having processed that. And maybe he's sort of touching the back of his head, and maybe, I don't know, not that his spirit would be literal, but, he's starting to lose it again.
Okay.
And let's see. And so, as he starts to go crazy, he just, starts Sarah, and it starts to get louder and louder. And by the end, he's just screaming her name. And his spirit becomes like a shadow, and his shadow goes down an alley and disappears into some darkness. So what we're going to do is we're going to make that the 6th tone.
Okay. So again, I'm doing the thing where I'm playing the keys on the wall, and I slam my hand down this time, and it's just D sharp. You are a mean son of a bitch, but what are you up to? So I'm going to just try to I don't know, because we only have until dawn, so I can't make it to, obviously. I'm trying to think how I'm going to find this guy.
Yeah, we could try rolling some stuff, or I could throw something out to you.
Yeah, either one.
So what I'll do is I will just roll. Let's try a drive. I'll make this a public roll so you can see. I'm just going to do a drive and to protect. I don't know if that works. But the other thing I was thinking of is maybe because you've been doing this for a little while.
Protect might work.
Okay. You got something that works from that?
Yeah, let's head to Sarah's house.
Okay.
Sarah's apartment. Even though it's been a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Definitely. So yeah, you say you're able to, piece it together. It's um you eventually realize, oh no, because you knew her.
yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of place did she live in? I assume she was working the circuit just like you, so she wasn't wealthy.
She was, but I mean, she had a voice like she'd come slum it with me, but she was also on the grandstand and stuff. She was
Oh, okay.
she was working big stages, and so she wasn't. No, she wasn't work like upper class neighborhood or anything like that. But she had like a fourth story kind of penthouse deal, if you could really call it that, on something up above one of the more popular um, jazz clubs. So I make my way there, and I'm sure it's like closed down for the night.
Okay. Yeah. And how do you want to make your way in?
I'll do the
Another ethereal?
yeah.
All right. So yeah, give me a move roll. Nice. Okay.
That's just a 5 though.
Okay. No problem. So again, it's a yes, but so you get to her old apartment, but obviously someone else lives there.
Okay.
Because she hasn't been there for a little while.
I was thinking someone didn't, so maybe that's the twist. Like he was thinking, like, I don't think as far as I knew, she still maintained the lease.
Right. Okay. Yeah, but no. In this case, you realize somebody else has taken over, and maybe she also, maybe it was a friend of Sarah's. She, took over her apartment or something. And
I go in. I pass through the doors, or try to, even with realizing that now someone else lives there.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you spend the blue note?
I think I did.
I think you did.
No, this will be 4.
4. Okay. So yeah, so you make your way in, and you hear, maybe somebody just settling in for the night, because maybe she's a singer as well, and she's just unwinding from her night of performing. And so she's off in like a bedroom on the far side of the apartment.
Okay.
And yeah, what would you like to do?
I'll just look around. Is there any indication that Sarah's been there or anything like that?
Let me see. Give me
or this guy, more importantly.
Yeah, so give me a do you want to do an Echoes of Time? Or do you want to hold on to the blue notes?
I'm going to hold on to it.
Okay. So give me a discern roll.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So that's I think a yes, but yeah, so let's say you sort of look around and you realize underneath some furniture, you see something that maybe fell off. Maybe she also has like a little writing table, and it looks like something had fallen off and fell most of the way under the table. Like people just didn't catch on that it was there. But you hear the woman who lives there, realizing, oh, I left the window open. So she gets up and, she starts to come out.
Yeah, I'll hide in the closet.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, let's just say, yeah, you hide. She comes in, she realizes she left the kitchen window closed, and she just slides it closed and heads back into the room and closes it to go to bed. And so, assuming you then take a look at that envelope.
Yeah, of course.
And so, yeah, you take a look at the envelope, and the envelope, it's addressed to Sarah, and it's been opened. But when you look at the envelope, and somehow the envelope has certain spots, like where it was sealed. It was almost like it was sealed sort of with ice. They're still sort of frozen, these 3 spots to the touch. And inside the envelope is, like what looks like a love letter, but it's partly like an unrequited love letter. Like, I hope you'll write back to me. It was so great to meet you when I was up in Kansas City, and I'd really love for you to come to New Orleans. I think your voice would be perfect. And, it would be great to see you, more of you. And, he's like, here's a, picture of like the club, where you could sing at. It's my club. And you're looking at the picture and you're seeing in the picture like a very well-dressed person, very well-dressed man, stylish for the time because he's a club owner. But behind him, from the flash of the light bulb, everybody sort of has like little shadows on the wall, but his shadow is this weird disfigured shape that doesn't match at all what's in the foreground. And so you sort of get a name for him. We'll call him maybe the name of the club is Scoots.
Okay.
You see sort of like in sort of letters above the stage, Scoots, Scoots. And so it's signed Scoots. And on the front of the envelope, you see the return address is, like S. Eldridge, and then an address in New Orleans. And so with that, you get your next tone.
Back to G sharp.
It all keeps coming back to Sarah. All right. So, okay. So there you are. So you've got this letter, you think you got the place to yourself, but maybe you don't really notice anything else in this apartment. And you, let me see. So I don't know if I'm following this literally beat by beat, but anyway, so you had this picture of Scoot. There was something really off with his picture, and then you have this love letter, and you sort of, what would you like to do with these? You got the dots of ice on the envelope that are still frozen, and you've got this weird shape in the shadows behind this individual.
I'll head outside and I'll make my way to a little cafe that's open 24/7.
Okay.
And I take the letter and I very quietly exit the apartment. And as I leave, I go into the kitchen and I get a thing of salt and I make a line of salt across the front entryway at least, and then shut the door quietly. I head down to the cafe. Damn. G sharp. Sarah. And he takes a long drag of coffee and he just thinks, and he's trying to puzzle it all together, but he sits in the cafe and there's some soft moody jazz, and I'll use this time to pick up some blue notes again.
Nice. And are you remembering your times with Sarah, something specific?
Yeah, I think we did a little duet in this cafe, which is kind of a big deal. Like it's real small, and it's not a bar. It's all very intimate. But we played here once, and yeah, I'm looking back on that, and this was before this guy ever came up from Louisiana or anything like that. And it does sting a little bit. I don't know. Charlie doesn't think Sarah loved him, but he didn't know about Warren. That's for sure. So he's. It does sting to think back on her, and then wait a second, Warren. Like he's putting the timing together, though there was no like relationship. And so he thinks that like surely this spirit can't have been driven to kill just because he's worried about some sap from Kansas City coming down and trying to reclaim his girl.
Or is he?
Or is he?
So with that thought, you have your next tone.
Okay. F sharp. F sharp. Back to that first chord. Bring me right back to Warren.
Yeah. All right. So as you are sitting in the cafe, are you settling up your tab? Are you just about getting ready to leave?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I just paid, cash or whatever, and I'm sitting at the window seat.
So, yeah, let's say the sun's not coming up yet, but the sky's just starting to get light. And so it's that time in the morning where the first light can play tricks on you a little bit.
Okay.
And you can sort of swear outside. You don't see anyone in particular, but you see this shadow flitter across the wall, across the street. Maybe it's like a tight street. And it's sort of, when you first catch it, it's sort of standing, it's still. And then when you look over at it, it sort of flickers away and goes off in a direction.
I'll follow.
Okay. So it's one of those things where you're always like, it's just turned the corner, so you're still seeing the shadow, but the thing casting the shadow has already turned the corner. So you keep sort of, having this chase where it's always just a turn ahead of you. And give me a move roll.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. That'll make it easy. Okay, so after a couple of turns, you're like, where's this person going? Like, we're going in alleys and this is a dead end. And you round the corner, and standing in front of you is the gentleman from the photo. And you can see from this early light, he's well dressed, but just something looks really off about him. And of course, the shadow behind him is sort of distorted, and something's off. And he's just sort of looking up and going, son of a bitch, this stupid goddamn city. And he turns around and he just looks at you. He's like, what do you want?
You collected something that wasn't yours.
Oh, I collect stuff all the time, son.
Yeah. I've got a friend who likes to collect things too. He'll be in touch. Oh, what's your name?
And he goes, what's it to you?
I take a good long look at him.
Yeah, and so
I've got an idea, but
yeah.
You tell if you have a name in mind. If not, I've like, you tell me.
Do you have a specific name in mind that you want to roll with?
Yeah, I'm getting like, I don't know why, but I have one. But if not, we can also use the tables, or if you have something.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so he laughs again. He puts on a top hat and lights up a big cigar. And as he walks past me, I get a very strong smell of rum, like very potent.
Okay.
And hey, Baron, the Reaper will be in touch.
And so he sort of turns to you.
I'm thinking like I'm imagining like Baron Samdi or something like that. Samdi.
Okay, and above the table, who?
Like the Hoodoo Voodoo, like he's got the top hat and the
yes,
skeleton face, and
yes.
then also like there's in James Bond and stuff. But
Yes, got it. I know what you're
yeah.
saying. Yeah. And so he sort of turns and he's a little shaken by that. And he says, well, grim comes, but nobody touches Sarah. She's got the voice of an angel. And he sort of gives you a tip of the hat and walks away. And as he walks away, yes, you get your last tone. C, that's actually a perfect ending kind of tone.
Mm-hmm.
And you sort of have these chords in your head. And now, do you want to tell me where you go with those chords, or do you want me to tell you?
So I go back to the cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk slow. And by now, like I had said, the sun is starting to come up, and I know I have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And I sit down at the piano in the cafe, and above table, I know the rules kind of say like there's a ghost piano you play, but maybe it could be any piano.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't played at this piano since Sarah and I played here. And it starts off slow. I hit the first G sharp. And I play the chord, and then the coffee shop, it becomes background noise to everyone in there, and maybe there's like a few people heading into work or whatever. But I perform, and the Grim Reaper shows up, and maybe I just see him standing outside the window, and this is enough for him to know, and he fades. Maybe it starts to rain a little bit, and then the cafe kind of comes back into focus, and the whoever owns the cafe, brings a cup of coffee, puts it on the stand next to the piano, and then some early riser kind of cackles over in the corner,
right.
But the sun comes up over like the park across the street and starts to pour in through the window.
And you're there just tickling the ivories, having
That's right.
passed along the message. Nice. And is that where we fade out?
That ends with a little smile on Charlie's face. And again, still feeling moody, especially thinking of Sarah. So,
nice.
It's where we'll fade.
Nice, very nice. Oh, so, I guess really quickly, what'd you think?
Yeah. You want to go like big? You want to give it a rating first? You want to talk about it? What do you think?
So my quick first impression rating is a damn fine cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
And for me, I thought it was a nice mix of mechanics and just oozes the atmosphere in ways that, not that other games didn't do it well, but at least in my head, this was such a clear sense of place and atmosphere.
I agree 100%. I think that the weakest in like kind of the solo co-op stuff we've done, this is maybe. No, I didn't play the game you and Patrick played, but mechanically, this is very story and theme forward first.
Yeah.
Where mechanically, it's got this very brief kind of PBTA system with the yes and the yes but, the no and the no but, which is great. But there isn't a lot. Like I said, there's no. If you're not doing those story notes, there's not a lot of structure to even challenge this. How do you discover chords?
Right.
What are you supposed to unveil? And so but it makes up for it with everything else you talked about.
Yeah.
Because one, what a cool concept. And two, just the way it's structured, just discovering the notes to these chords and then, unveiling this spirit. And it's not our job to fight the spirit. It's not a showdown with whatever spirit you choose to tackle. You're letting the Grim Reaper know who pissed him off, who claimed a soul too early.
Right. And that was something I was sitting there because I was like, okay, looking at the story beats, I wonder, I appreciated the story beats just because one, we were coming in hot, two, I've never done this
Mhm.
before. And so it gave me a way to sort of think ahead since I was going to present you with
Yeah.
information. Maybe in a solo environment that free form, might be more interesting because at that point you're almost like writing a short story, which is how
Right,
I
you're
sort of see these
journaling
journaling
or
it.
recording something, but you
Yeah.
like, who if you don't have that story beat, but you're still doing something you enjoy, that's totally cool, right? Like, if
Right.
you're
Right.
yeah,
So I like that that's there just so it sort of states the obvious that probably doesn't need to be stated. Like, hey, when you're soloing, go nuts, man. Just
right.
play it out
Yeah.
however you want. But for me, this helped because it gave me a way to think ahead. And part of the thinking ahead is like, okay, I know that at some point you need to encounter this thing. And then but it actually occurred. I was like, so what happens? Like, does he do? And then suddenly I stopped. I'm like, what you just said, you don't have to fight it. It's not
Well,
a,
I had the realization as well. I was like, "Oh, we need to identify this thing, and then I need to
mhm.
confront it." And then you
Yes.
don't. Like, I'm sure you could if you wanted to, but y you can't die, but you're also just a jazz performer, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Like, you're
Right.
not like, none of these superpowers or anything to, like, fight these things,
Right.
and you're not going it's not someone who killed out of order, it's a spirit that's claimed a life,
Right.
and so I kinda like because I had that realization too, it's like, "Ooh, what am I gonna do when I see him?" And it's like,
Nothing.
"No" exactly. Yeah,
In a great way, like
right.
in a way that I thought narratively was just awesome. Um,
I would love to, like so I've always wanted to play an RPG called I'm gonna look it up, like
Fatal. Fatal 2.
you know, you keep making that joke, you better be careful because I think I'll think you, I'll take you serious one of these days. Let's see. It's Hoodoo Blues, the role-playing game.
Oh,
And
okay.
so getting an opportunity, and I know it's not explicitly that, right? But, like, Hoodoo Blues does some really cool things where you play in multiple time periods, and I think it embraces the subject matter, or at least appears to in a meaningful way, and not like some kind of completely superficial way.
Mhm.
But it takes the history of Louisiana and hoodoo very seriously,
Yeah.
and kind of confronts those things. It doesn't back away. So it's but I've never played it, and so I've always wanted to do something with hoodoo, with voodoo, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the jazz elements, if it's just the structure of the book, it's just the Grim Reaper. There's nothing there's
Okay.
even the spirits aren't, I just pulled Baron Samedi out of my ass because that's the vibes I pictured in my head, but
Mhm.
man, did it kind of immediately as soon as I started reading that, scratch that itch, and then so I kinda knew like, "Oh, this" so what I'm getting at is I would like you'd have to blow this up, but, like, what a cool premise to, like, base a campaign off of.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, if you could stretch it out to an ongoing story, like, you work for the Grim Reaper
Mhm.
and someone's claiming souls before it's their time,
Right.
like, plug that into something else that you can run a campaign on, and I am there for it.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. There's no reason why, we were doing it because we were intending this as a one shot.
Mhm.
But I know when I was setting this up, I actually was thinking to myself, like, I could see this going 3, 4 sessions. Because
Oh,
if you
easy.
yeah, because if
Yeah.
you don't wanna rush the clues and you don't wanna rush the investigations, you could pad out the interactions, we sped through them to make it a one shot, but I feel like you could easily, like, really get immersive and,
Sure. I don't know if the system allows for it, but
mhm.
you could still use this system as the baseline for building a campaign.
Yeah,
Meaning you take the story note structure, you take the whole premise,
right.
and then if you were playing like multiplayer, you could pick, Call of Cthulhu. I mean, you pick it, whatever you want,
Yeah,
whatever you feel is appropriate, and kind of mash the two together. It gives you a really great framework for a really interesting story.
yeah, and I think that's the real strength of all of these games that we've been playing, like, obviously, they're not too intent at least
Mhm.
English Eerie and this weren't, like it's not about the mechanics, right?
Right.
They both present these incredible atmospheres.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's sort of within the spirit of those games to be like, yeah, whatever mechanics you want. Like if it lets you get into this setting, if it lets you get into these themes, I think I shouldn't be speaking for other people, but I feel like some level they'd be like, yeah, sure. Like, we designed these themes to be explored. And if you wanted to do it in a grand way, like we picked these mechanics because they wouldn't get in the way, but it's
Right.
really about the theme and the feel and coming up with the stories first. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely it does. I mean, yeah,
But
I would if I guess, like, if I did something similar and then someone's like, "I love your idea, but I wanna do even more with it," then, yeah,
it's kind of a
be my
compliment.
guest.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Um,
And this is such a cool
yeah.
premise. It's one of my favorite things, like, setting backdrops that I've read.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, I think I feel like we've been on a good run. We haven't had any real duds. This is one of, I think, of the solo systems. I've enjoyed all of them, but like I was saying at the top, like there's something about this setting that just made me go whoa.
Yeah.
And not to take anything away from the other solo games that we've played, but something about this setting really leaped out at me. So really glad we got a chance to try this.
Yeah, and it's probably, Long Dark's I'm trying to think, like, it had from I don't remember Cyberpunk because you ran the scenario,
Hmm.
but if you weren't running a scenario, well, I guess that's probably true of English Erie. I'm trying to say, like, this is somewhere like, it had the least amount of hand-holding, whereas
Mm-hmm,
Long
hmm.
Dark Space Between the Stars, you kinda, like, had to know what you were getting into as a one-on-one experience.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. This is great. This is very good.
This
I'm
is
so
really
glad you
good.
found this. I might print this off. I might use my coupon to get a physical copy of it.
I absolutely
Not
did.
that I would necessarily solo journal it, but just to play some more.
But that's the thing. I mean, I would revisit a lot of these like one shot systems that we've done. And yeah, as soon as I downloaded it and started going through it, I immediately went and used the printout coupon to get my hard copy.
Nice. How was quote unquote GMing this?
So, okay, that's a good thing. So, like, in the rules, they say, like, hey, when you reveal the victim, just start with the name and then reveal the next thing later on as it comes up. So, what I did was I revealed the name and the secret and the whatever the other detail was. So, I rolled the name and I got that he was a gruff repairman. And the secret was that he bought a train ticket under a pseudonym. So, I wanted to
Oh,
have all
nice.
three of those things in place so then I could figure out the rest. And then I had this idea that what if he wasn't like literally murdered? What if let's see if we can spin it. What if he
Mhm.
did it to himself? Now then we were sort of like free floating for a while. And then I started, when you stepped away for a second, I was like, okay, let me generate the entity. So I have a thing in mind of where we're going to. So while you were off camera, I quickly rolled the details and, I got a name, which we didn't need because you had a,
You're right.
but I also got that, he has like it says resembles three-dimensional shadows, defying laws of light and perspective. And then his other thing was that he generates cold spots and he can create hallucinations.
Mm.
So once I had the hallucinations, then I knew I was what to do with the spirit encounter you had with Warren. It's not like he literally, died by suicide. It was that he was
Yeah.
convinced to do it to himself.
Right,
And
right.
so it sort of started to gel a little bit, some of the details.
So to me, that sounds like then from the GM perspective, the worry is like if you're going to GM a solo game
Mhm.
where it is a lot about how one character is reacting to things, that
Right.
takes a lot away from the GM. But to me, it doesn't seem like it seems like you still had plenty to do and enjoy in the
Yes.
GM chair.
Oh, yes, yes, and because leading up to it, at some point early on, I did like a motif roll,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
I have it
There's the
set up.
motifs and challenges and advantages, which we didn't talk about, but they can
No.
like enhance your roles or help you get unstuck.
Yeah, and I feel like they would be really good if you were soloing because you wanna surprise yourself, and that would sort of help it. In this
Mhm.
situation, I could surprise you or come up with things and keep them from you. So, I did do a motif roll, and I got, pensive, traverse, restless, catalyst, abandoned, and solitude. So, as soon as I saw, pensive, abandoned, and solitude, I came up with the idea that Warren did this, because he was alone. So it just made sense that
Mm.
it would be over a woman, over a dame, as they would
Mhm.
say in back in the day. So yeah, so I felt like the prompts really helped.
Good.
I was a little nervous because again, I don't feel like I'm good on the fly. But I feel like the prompts helped. I feel like, I was able to get by doing things a little out of step from how you would do them solo.
Hmm.
It gave me enough to try and start piecing things together to not steer it there, but have an idea of what could be the big picture.
Nice.
Uh,
Well, it
so
wasn't clear as a player. It was phenomenal. I mean, I loved it. Um, you know, part of like my own personal interest, like drive it. Like, obviously, I tried to push it towards the train thing, just because, like, okay, we're in Kansas City and we've already knocked out jazz. Like, let's knock out something else I love. Might as well do trains. We
yeah,
didn't go there. That's completely fine. Um, I mean, that's great, because then that's just things to unfold that I didn't expect. And so I think it's, if I'm driving the whole story, then what are you here for? So I'm glad that you were able to still get a story that you rolled up and imagined, and it's not just Matt like stroking every like passive hobby that he's into, like, oh, let's do a train thing.
yeah. So out of curiosity, like as these things were happening, were you having like, oh, if I were soloing this, I would do X, like what you were just describing with the trains? Did you have
Only on the first like security guard.
Okay,
Because I was like, okay. And that was just in kind of keeping in mind of how the like story structure was, is the only reason why. Like, where I knew, like, I'm supposed to get a clue around it here right now.
right.
So let me like see if the security guide heard something tonight. And like, when you kind of let me draft the desks, like, all right, I'm gonna find him in like his workshop. That's not how it played out. But then in my mind, I was like, okay, the security guard had to heard something if there was a gun involved, heard a
Right.
gunshot. And so then like that, I kind of expected that. And when it didn't happen, it's like, okay, well, that's not what I expected. Let's try a different way of finding it out. And so
Yeah.
that's great. If I had been soloing it, I would have had that security guard heard something. But that was I think the only time.
And I will say the reason I only might have done some of that because I was trying to make sure we got through as much as possible as a one shot. Um, but I think there are things, if to what you were saying earlier, if we expanded it out, um, I think there are things I would have liked to, like threads I would have liked to have, pulled at a little bit to see what happened. And I think that was spending
Shit, I
more
would have loved
time,
to gone to Louisiana.
or yeah, hell, you get on the train.
Right, exactly.
um, by dawn. Oh no, because then you just get rid of that construct. You're just
Right,
it is,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I like the idea of doing it on a night, but there's
yeah.
nothing to say that you can't tweak that. You know, when I did Kansas City Jazz, I put them on it. There used to be a direct train
Hmm.
for Kansas City to Louisiana, and I can't remember. It had a line. You know, all those lines from the past had, and the lines that still exist today still have cool names, but
Yeah.
it had a name. And I immediately, as soon as my players in Call of Cthulhu finished up jazz craze in Kansas City, I put them on a train, did a classic train adventure, and it was the train run from Kansas City to Louisiana. So,
Yeah, I had that was a fun listen. I listened to both.
oh, nice,
Yeah,
nice,
yeah.
yeah,
Um, all right. So I guess overall we are very positive on Midnight Melodies, and we'll have all the
highly recommended.
information. Yeah, for if you want to go grab a copy over at
I
itch.io.
think it was on sale if you
Yes.
really wanted to. Yeah, it's on sale for like it's 25% off right now.
Yeah, as of this recording. And the really nice thing is, and I guess this isn't completely unusual, but a couple of things I've encountered, they do a thing where they have like community copies. So if
Hmm.
you buy a copy, the creator of the game makes one available for free. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I bought one. You bought one.
I bought
So,
one. Yep.
and they're out of community copies. So someone claimed ours, I guess.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the main thing is, it sounds like this game is getting snapped up, and I think it very much deserves it. I had a great time.
Yeah, and looks killer art. Like, I love the art. You'll see it as soon as you open up. You know, it's just this great
Yes.
scene of this guy over a piano and the Grim Reaper's sitting right behind him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very
All right.
evocative. Yeah, great find, Art.
Oh, thank you.
Back to back with Erie England and Midnight Melodies.
Yeah, the next one's going to be a giant turd, but these two, I have to confess, Erie, English Erie, I found, I was just like, I didn't know anything about solo RPG. So I just started like looking for lists and stuff like that, and got very lucky because one list I found had Entity and English Erie, two of them that I really enjoyed.
Nice.
And this came about because, yeah, we tried Cyberpunk, and the creator of the game, was nice enough to uh, reach out and say, like, thanks for trying the game. And so it just sort of fell into place. And this was great.
Nice. Nice. Well, good. I don't know what our immediate future holds because um we got a little message from Patrick that, he may be raring to go for something.
Which sounds
But
crazy, but
I do think there is some conversation to be had in the future for us on a damn fine coffee where we talk about some of these solo mechanics and what drives solo games. I think that's a great
yeah.
conversation for us to have. So that'll happen soon. Of course, we've talked about Star Trek, and there's other things in the works.
Mhm.
But whatever it is, we'll be back in some form next week as always. Art, thank you for GMing me through this
Oh, no, thank you. This
and
was a
setting up
blast.
these wonderful Foundry modules. I mean, Art
Oh.
puts we just got to talk about that real quick because Art puts a ton of effort into bringing these tables in and making it a digital representation, which is really nice.
I try and respect the fact that we're not sitting around a table.
Mhm.
And so I think there are things you can add to a game that are small touches that give you something, you as the player, but in our case, because we record these, the viewers as well, something to look at and something
Yeah,
to evoke. Yeah. Anyway,
totally. So next week will be Russia besieged by Compass Games.
exactly. All in.
Awesome. Well, fantastic job, Art. Fantastic job to these creators. If you are listening to this on a podcast, don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, Black Lodge RPG, Black Lodge Trivia Night. You can
Mhm.
find us under just Googling those two terms. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget we have an audio feed. You can find that in your podcast catcher, wherever you listen to us. We are on literally every single social. You can go find us there. Black Lodge RPG is the app.
RPG. Yeah.
Is
X
that the app?
and Blue Sky. I just joined. I just got us on Mastodon, but that might just be Black Lodge Trivia Night.
Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can find us wherever you need to. There's Discord we're slowly rolling out, all of that stuff. But if you're enjoying our content, we want to hear from you. We want to hang out with you, all that stuff. But
Yeah.
that's going to do it for us.
All right. Thanks again, Matt. Appreciate it.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.